30 years ago, in a cramped college apartment, Michael Sterling taped a poster of the Colorado Rockies to his wall, swearing to his roommates he'd wake up to that view someday. They laughed, slurping instant noodles, but Michael meant every word. After decades grinding as a software engineer, pinching pennies, he finally did it. Bought 5 acres of pristine land just outside Denver, where the mountains stretched like a promise kept. At 55, he retired early, built his dream ranch-style home, and positioned every window to frame those Rockies. The wraparound porch was his sanctuary, where he'd sip coffee at dawn and whiskey at dusk, watching sunsets paint the peaks in fire and gold. For 2 weeks, life was perfect. Then the survey stakes appeared. At first, Michael thought little of the markers on the neighboring land. Another dreamer, maybe. But when bulldozers roared in, he learned the truth. The Summit Ridge Estates Homeowners Association, led by Eleanor Vance, a 62-year-old former real estate shark with a smile as cold as her silver hair, was erecting a 5-story condo tower. It would stand like a wall between Michael's home and his million-dollar view. Furious, he stormed to the HOA's office, a gaudy building with gold-lettered signs. Eleanor barely glanced up from her papers. "Mr. Sterling, we have all permits in order," she said, her voice dripping with faux sympathy. "This has been planned for years." When Michael pushed for a lower building, she laughed a sharp, mocking sound that lit a fuse in him. "If you wanted protected views, you should have bought in Summit Ridge," she sneered. That laugh would cost her. Michael wasn't one to roll over. At the county office, he unearthed a bombshell. The original plan was for 3 stories, not 5, with shady amendments rushed through. His neighbor, Ben Carter, a grizzled 40-year-old carpenter, filled in the gaps. "Eleanor's been pulling this for years," Ben said, leaning on his beat-up Ford. "She builds eyesores to tank nearby property values, buys cheap, then expands Summit Ridge. It's her playbook." Ben's family had fought her off once, and he saw the same fire in Michael. A lawyer confirmed the HOA's legal right to build, but Michael's mind churned. Late one night, staring at the moonlit stakes, a memory from a property law class sparked an idea. Trees. Tall, fast-growing trees could block their sunlight, just as they blocked his view. At Sunrise Nursery, Michael met Jessica Shaw, a 45-year-old with dirt under her nails and a grudge against HOAs. "Eleanor forced me to rip out my garden once," Jessica said, her eyes glinting. She recommended hybrid poplars, thuja green giants, silver maples, and Leland cypress trees that could soar to 50 feet in 6 years. "You're not just planting trees," she said, tossing soil through her fingers. "You're building a monument to justice." Michael enlisted his old friend David Chun, an environmental engineer who mapped sunlight patterns with eerie precision. Morning sun blocked by maples, midday by poplars, afternoon by cypress, David explained, his 3D models glowing on screen. A lawyer, Robert Lewis, confirmed no laws would be broken. "They can't control how tall your trees grow," he said with a grin. Michael's plan was audacious. 100 trees, $50,000 in saplings, irrigation, and care. He started subtly, planting flowering cherry trees and crabapples to mask his intent. Summit Ridge Spy's nosy residents in luxury SUVs took note, but Michael played dumb, calling it a pollinator project. Eleanor's first salvo came as a letter, warning his green barrier threatened community harmony. Michael fired back, citing his legal rights. When Eleanor tried to push a tree height ordinance through her ally, Councilman Walter Hughes, Michael fought back. At a packed town meeting, armed with aerial photos and ecological data, he argued trees boosted property values and air quality. The town's building inspector, Megan Riley, backed him, and the ordinance failed 5-2. Eleanor's icy glare promised war. The battle escalated. Michael's security cameras caught Summit Ridge workers poisoning his trees at 2 a.m., their uniforms clear in the footage. Rage surged, but he stayed calm, filing a police report with Officer Kevin Miller. "Criminal mischief and trespassing," Kevin confirmed. Eleanor confronted Michael as he planted towering silver maples. "You're messing with the wrong person, Sterling," she hissed from her Mercedes. "I have connections." Michael leaned close. "These trees will be 50 feet tall soon. Wonder how much sun Summit Ridge will get then." Her mask slipped, fury flashing in her eyes. Eleanor's condo tower rose, but Michael's trees grew faster, poplars shooting up 10 feet in months. She struck on multiple fronts: false insect complaints, water usage probes, fire hazard petitions, all debunked. A local reporter, Olivia Reed, 33, infiltrated a Summit Ridge meeting where Eleanor called Michael a community threat and plotted to force him out. Olivia's article, The Green War, Nature vs. Concrete, exposed Eleanor's tactics, including the last-minute height change from 3 to 5 stories. Public support swung to Michael. Neighbors offered help. Environmental students studied his trees. Eleanor rushed construction, ignoring noise laws and cutting corners. But mistakes piled up: faulty concrete, subpar beams. The tide turned when Olivia connected with Eleanor's ex-husband, Arthur Vance, 65. Over coffee he spilled. Eleanor had manipulated property values for years, buying low after HOA stunts, then selling high to Summit Ridge. It's made her millions, he said, but left a trail of broken neighbors. Olivia found victims like Isabella Rossi, harassed into selling her townhouse for pennies after fabricated violations. A permit review by Environmental Commissioner Diane Morris revealed forged signatures and missing shadow studies. Eleanor faced fraud and bribery charges. In court, Eleanor's lawsuit claiming Michael's trees caused pollen damage crumbled. Judge Evelyn Hayes saw through the nonsense. Then, Councilman Walter Hughes, sweating under investigation, confessed to taking $10,000 from Eleanor to push the height change. The judge dismissed the case and referred Eleanor for prosecution. Outside, Eleanor cornered Michael. "The building's almost done. You've lost," she spat. Michael pointed to his towering trees. "Nature wins, Vance." Her hands shook as she fled. Eleanor's empire collapsed. Financial records exposed a decade of scams. She took a plea: 3 years probation, $1 million in restitution, and a ban from HOA rolls. Summit Ridge's board ousted her, and the condo, stuck at 3 stories after code violations, became unsellable sun-drenched units shrouded in shadow. Buyers dubbed it the cave. Listings slashed prices from $500,000 to $350,000, with no takers. The new HOA president, Patricia Green, a retired teacher, proposed a deal: convert the top floors into community gardens if Michael thinned some trees. Mayor Linda Peterson mediated, envisioning a green model for the town. Michael agreed, securing a covenant limiting future buildings to 3 stories. His trees stayed, a lush barrier hosting deer and birds, cooling his land by 15 degrees. The gardens bloomed, and Michael's property became a local gem, toured by garden clubs and studied by ecologists. 2 years later, Michael sat on his porch, mountains glowing in the sunset above the 3-story condo. The view wasn't his original dream, but it was enough. Kids played under his maples, their laughter mingling with birdsong. Ben dropped by with a beer. "Join the HOA's Green Committee?" he asked. Michael smiled. "Maybe." Every tree cast shade for someone new. His revenge had grown into a legacy of forest that outlasted greed, proving nature could fight back and win.